But they're not going to take that chance for us. No one's going to come and save us. We have to save ourselves if we're going to do it. And they're slowly turning us into a combination of alien and human DNA and cyborgs, transhumanists. It's already happening. People are already getting this transhumanist technology implanted in them, and it's only gonna accelerate. Yeah, they use post-hypnotic suggestion. They use drugs. They use neurolinguistic programming. Anything that they can do, because I know that when I was abducted, there was never a time when I wasn't completely neutralized. It was like I had a lobotomy. I couldn't even think that it might be a good idea to try to get away. I couldn't even form that thought. And if you're an abductee, there's a good chance that at least one of your parents and grandparents were also abductees, because they follow it down through the generations. And they've abducted a lot more people than we think, because typically people don't remember that it even happened. That's kind of the point of it. Most people will never even know that they're abducted. If you sleep through the rest of the night after they bring you back, you'll never remember a thing. It is antiquated and outdated technology where you'd never know it existed. They'll never tell us the current state of their tech. So, remember when they cloned Dolly the sheep?
Yeah.
Right?
I actually have a Time magazine somewhere laying around from the 90s.
You never heard another word about cloning after that, right? Remember how the talk about cloning stopped? Because you know what the difference is between cloning a sheep and cloning a person? The size of the tank you use. That's the only difference. We've been cloning people since the 30s, man. And they don't want that discussion to be had. They don't want it restricted. They don't want the discussion to be had. So they simply tabled it. Created this black goo to get rid of unwanted biological life forms, right? But they didn't think ahead far enough, because that means it also wants to get rid of them, and it did. Black goo is the biggest threat we have, because it will eventually get rid of us. They say that it's completely wiped out whole galaxies. I don't know if that's true, but it's very dangerous, and it's an AI. The cobblestone that all the Muslims have to kiss once in their life, make the what they call it, the trip to Mecca to kiss the stone. That is a meteorite, solidified black goo. And it's one of the things that these advanced techs allow you to do. And if you want to take over a planet easily without firing a shot, you hybridize your race with the native intelligent race on the planet, right? You create a hybrid, which is what they say they're doing now with the DNA from abductees. And pretty soon, all you got to do is wait. And pretty soon you've got creatures that are partly you and partly the natives, and adapted to that planet because they're half native. And you've spread your own DNA to another planet without ever firing a shot. It's just a thought.
So
DNA is the coin of the universe, I'm sure.
So these entities are working alongside the military and black ops and certain leaders of the world to push this hybridization, or what?
Well, we can't stop them. We can't stop them.
Well, I asked that because what would be the ultimate goal or agenda for the hybrid program? Is it to make us more suitable to travel into space or something, or what?
It's to, well, I mean, it's not humanity 2.0. I mean, if you look at our past history, all of a sudden there was no humans. All of a sudden there was Neanderthal everywhere, right? Building caves, building in campfires, primitive tools. They were there, wholly formed all of a sudden without any evolution to become a Neanderthal. And suddenly they were gone. Cro-Magnon took over. They were there, no announcement, no evolution to Cro-Magnon. Then suddenly they were gone and we were there. It's like every time they get a new version, the last one's wiped out. And if you have this COVID shot, they can hack you anytime they want to because you've got nanotechnology inside you that you don't even know about. And they can replicate your soul because it is a energy signature, and they do it. We don't even think in those terms because it's so far beyond our tech, right? But you're exactly right. We're hackable, we're controllable, we can be all these cell phone towers that they're putting up. They're not really cell phone towers. Many of them are EMF emitting towers, and they're energy warfare weapons. They can direct EMF signals to individuals, and they can change your thoughts. If they don't like you, they can make you suicidal. They've got every brainwave pattern for every emotion that humans can feel. They've got it mapped out, and they can change the way you think if they want to. It's a very scary world out there, and we don't have any control over those things. They'll never admit they have it, but they do. I mean, it happens to far too many people to be a coincidence. It's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous research you can do. You're behind the 8 ball all the time, and if you get too close or you get too much attention, they say they don't care what you say as long as nobody listens to you. But if you start getting a lot of people listening to you, then they care and they'll take you out.
We had some interruptions last time, when we talked, the internet signal, I think it was on my end. But when it comes to like disclosure, I talked to you on the phone the other day, and you don't think it will really ever happen. And I think I tend to agree. I don't think it's going to happen either. And if it does, and I even hate using the word disclosure, it's been overused, almost like, I get it. What other word we're going to use? Because I feel like I use Illuminati too much too, but what other words,
Well, it has to happen someday, but it's not going to happen in our lifetimes. The government has too much to lose and nothing to gain.
Even if they came forward with something, I wouldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
Well, the only person that can do it credibly is the president. And the president can't do it because he's not fully informed. And the last president that met an alien was Eisenhower. The president's not even allowed to go to Area 51. They have orders to shoot him, to keep him out of Area 51. I don't know who can give an order like that, but they did. Because otherwise, that'd be the first place every president went,
So, man. So who do you think is behind keeping all this technology hidden? I know we can use the word, the over-encompassing word like Illuminati, but is it really let's say the technology's here in the United States, okay? Like, rather it's alien tech or just tech that we have created maybe through this non-human type of technologies, whatever, or just technologies that we just came up with, whatever.
Well, the top levels of the military, of course, and the black ops, they don't want to share that technology with anybody. They certainly don't want to take the chance of hostile governments getting alien technology. You don't want Iran to get alien technology, because they're crazy, and they withhold it just for that reason, for one thing. And
I think we're kind of crazy too, though.
Well, yeah, but they've got stuff that is really quite off the charts, and they don't want us to know that they have that ability. And the head of Skunk Works is on the MJ-12, I think, and of course they're working with this technology. Boeing has been working with anti-gravity tech since the late '90s, according to Jane's Defense. Anti-gravity tech's a big deal, because most people think it's impossible, but it's not. It's just advanced physics, But they've got exotic propulsion technology that'll just blow away anything we have. The TR-3B it doesn't use anti-gravity, but it uses gravity nullifying tech, which it neutralizes 93% of the force of gravity. So it makes it very quick and very, very quick to maneuver and very quick to accelerate. And it also has alien tech for a invisibility field, and it moves very fast. It can go to Mars and the moon very fast. You know, way faster than any spacecraft that's ever been built by conventional tech. So they don't want people to know about that. They don't want them to know about the Mars colony or the moon colony. You know, NASA's job has never been to explore space. That's their official program, but it's never been their priority. NASA's job is to do anything it takes to keep us from learning what's really happening out there. And that's what they do.
You think we ever went to the moon? And
I know we went to the moon
in 1969.
Well, there's no question a lot of that was faked. I don't know if they went or not, but we were already there. We were already there long before that. But there's no question a lot of the Apollo stuff seems obviously faked. And you know, it was a propaganda thing, really. You know, I mean, they just scooped up some rocks and came right back because we're not welcome on the moon. The moon's already occupied, and we were clearly told to not stay and to not come back. You know, and that's why we haven't been back officially, and we never will in our lifetime. And Mars every place is occupied in the solar system. Every place that's habitable is occupied. There's not just a big empty solar system waiting for us to explore it. It's been colonized and occupied long before we came along, you know?
Why keep it a secret though? You know what I mean? Like, why keep all this a secret?
Because aliens are dangerous. Some alien races are hostile and dangerous. Some of them eat humans. Some of them keep us as slaves. Some of them work to keep our technology level low as possible, because they don't want us to have high tech. You know, they give us some tech according to treaty terms, but they don't like it. They don't want us to be loose in the galaxy if they can help it, because we're just we're like monkeys that drive cars to them. You know, we were talking about beings with the IQ in the 200s. You know, or for average, and we can't. You know, we can't compete with that. We can't catch up to them, and we can't interface with them nearly on the level that we should be able to. It's a scary thing when you think that the future of our race depends on our interaction with alien races and what they want to do about us, because they can wipe us out anytime they want to wipe us out. All they got to do is drop a big rock from orbit, you know, and that's certainly not the limit of their weapons. But we live on their goodwill so far, you know. But nobody's ever thought the Draco were friendly. You know, they don't like us. They think that we are like livestock to them. We're like edible, harvestable livestock. So that's one reason they want to keep it secret. The technology is another. The fact that the military has been abducting people on their own is another. The fact that they cannot control our airspace, they cannot defend us from alien attack is another. And the president would have to say all that stuff if there was real disclosure, you know. He'd have to say, we can't protect you. We're sorry. We made an illegal treaty with the wrong side, and we've been paying for it ever since. We've been dealing with them for almost a century now under an illegal treaty, you know. And no president's going to want to say that, man. It's too. They have too much to lose, and there's too many criminals within the military that would have to be exposed or be given a blanket amnesty. You know, abducting people is a capital crime.
Do you think that's still going on with the
Yeah,
abductions?
absolutely.
Because it seems like, well, you don't hear about it as much. That doesn't mean it's not happening. You know what I mean? Because it seems like, I don't know, when you look back to the, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, man, you see cases all the time, you know.
Well, the
Maybe, oh,
military is still abducting. I heard the military is abducting way more people than the aliens are, and they have tech that allows them to appear to be aliens when they abduct us.
that's what I was about to say, not to cut you off, but do you think that, what percentage do you think people are being abducted?
I don't know,
But,
but
but,
they the
but it,
military they hire little they have little short guys and dress them up in gray suits, you know, so they look like aliens because they use CR3Bs, which keep them from being busted in the act, you know, because they can warp time, and they want people to think it's aliens because as soon as they say I was abducted by an alien, nobody listens to them anymore,
I think,
right?
I think, I think the one, I don't think they're dressing up in suits. I think it's more they're being drugged,
Well,
probably
that's that too.
drugged and mind controlled. Um,
I got briefed on this by a guy who was a one-star general in the Air Force,
you put
and he said they do all that stuff.
you put that
They
in
use
one of your books too, didn't you?
yeah, they use post-hypnotic suggestion. They use drugs. They use neurolinguistic programming. Anything that they can do, because I know that when I was abducted, there was never a time when I wasn't completely neutralized. It was like I had a lobotomy. I couldn't even think that it might be a good idea to try to get away. I couldn't even form that thought. It's completely, you're completely helpless. And it was that way all the time. The Grays are not going to take a chance on you kicking the 35-pound Gray's ass. You know, I mean, they make sure that you are neutralized and you're absolutely you're willing to do. You know, if they want you to follow them, you follow them. But you can't do anything on your own.
what what do you think the ultimate agenda is for? I know harvest. You know, we keep hearing of harvesting material, but is that on both sides? Rather it be these aliens, non-humans, the 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 government or whatever, or military. What, because I think if today, just like me and my wife, we had to do IVF. You know, she's about to be 41. I'm 39, and we have a 2-year old. So we started late. And so we have another embryo. We have one in I think it's in Colorado. It's in a bank, like a seat, not a seed bank. It's some type of where they keep everything frozen, all the embryos and material. Why not the military or they have the technologies? Well, why can't they just, if they want genetic material, just go into these embryo banks and just get harvest material there? You know,
Well, they want DNA from certain people. They want DNA from certain bloodlines that they want to create hybrids with. People that have what they consider to be um, prime survival characteristics. They want people that are very intelligent and people that are very creative. They want people that can solve problems and come up with answers that nobody else can come up with. And if you're an abductee, there's a good chance that at least one of your parents and grandparents were also abductees because they follow it down through the generations. And they've abducted a lot more people than we think because typically people don't remember that it even happened. You know, that's kind of the point of it. Most people will never even know that they're abducted. If you sleep through the rest of the night after they bring you back, you'll never remember a thing. You'll just think you had some weird dreams, you know? Um, so,
so do you think most people that had like these terrifying nightmares or whatever, do you think more people are getting abducted than they think? They just consider it a dream?
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Or does the military and or these non-humans, do they have the technologies and means to get you in the astral realm?
They can do that too, especially the aliens. I don't know about the military, but the aliens certainly can. But they can't get your DNA that way. But the aliens are very, very skilled in astral travel. They know all about the astral planes and energy dimensions. And yes, I've had them to take me that way too. But and the military somehow usually knows when you've been taken by an alien. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll come in and abduct you after the aliens bring you back the same night. And they will use you like, one thing is, after you've been abducted by aliens, your psychic powers are amplified for about 2 or 3 hours after they bring you back for some reason. And the military knows this. And so they'll abduct people and use them as psychic spies. They'll use them for remote viewing and stuff. And then when that psychic ability starts to wane again, they erase their memory and bring them back. Nobody knows it even happened, you know? And they don't care. They've got no conscience as far as that goes, you know?
Do you think a lot of the missing persons, with the David Pilates, I can never say his last name.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think a lot of these national parks, do you think that's ET or government in nature?
I think a lot of it's ET, sure, because it's too many to just be wandering off the trail, you know. And there's way more missing children in this country than they say. There's way more that actually occur than the FBI admits are reported. They just vanish and they're never seen or heard from again, and they are used as a food item. You know, they're some of them we do ourselves and we transfer over to the aliens because that's part of our deal. You know, that's part of the taxes that we pay. Our solar system is located within the Draco Empire, and that's the tax we pay as people. They like young people, and because they don't have any pollutants in their bloodstream, they don't have tobacco, caffeine, this type of thing that adults would have, and they take tens and tens of thousands of. You know, if you go to India and you abduct a poor kid, you know, from the surf class, let's say, nobody's going to notice or care. The cops don't care. What are the parents going to tell? Time Magazine's not going to listen to them. That person, they'll just disappear, and there's nothing they can do about it, and nobody will ever know, and that's happening. So it's a scary thing. I don't trust the motives of any alien race to come here to help us, because even though they're friendly ones, they don't owe us anything. You know, they don't owe us anything, and the Draco don't want them to assist us. The Draco have been fighting humans apparently for millions of years across the galaxy, and these other races are not as strong as them. They don't want to take a chance to make the Draco mad. Maybe they'll go snuff their home star. You know, who knows? But they're not going to take that chance for us. No one's going to come and save us. We have to save ourselves if we're going to do it. And they're slowly turning us into a combination of alien and human DNA and cyborgs, transhumanists. It's already happening. People are already getting this transhumanist technology implanted in them, you know, and it's only gonna accelerate.
And that kind of goes to whatever is going on, rather what you think with certain aliens or, because I lean more towards that they've been here for a long time, whatever these.
They've been here way longer than we have.
And I think that, I don't know, for the past several years, I've kind of shifted the way I think of the phenomena. I think the phenomena, like I said, it's been here for a very long time, and they've masqueraded behind many different masks, jinns, fairies.
Yeah. They've been here since we're a genetically engineered race.
So,
The theory of human evolution is ridiculous. It simply doesn't make sense. That's not how evolution works. You don't have black folks wander north out of Africa, and 20,000 later they've turned into Chinese people. That's not how it happens. There's no reason for it to happen. There's no evidence that there were any black people ever in Scandinavia or China or Europe or anything like that. It's just it's a story they made up because they didn't have anything better. But the reason that Pleiadians look like us, right? We look like them because we're carrying their DNA. Otherwise it's impossible. But we're carrying the DNA of several different alien races that we were engineered from them. And they keep us nice and dumb so that they can manipulate us easily, and they're doing it.
And back to AI and transhumanism, and you said cyborgs. Kind of go back around Harvey's barn again. That's what I think is the ultimate agenda, and when we kind of touched on it last time, the ultimate push. Okay, we started off, I think, with disclosure in the conversation. So, is that how they are disclosing? If you give me a second to explain, is that how they're disclosing actually technologies? They only bring things to the table whenever they know how to capitalize on whatever they're bringing to the table. Let's say like AI. I'm talking about the way AI is now, like let's say Chat GPT and all the other types of AI algorithms and all that. Maybe that stuff has been around for decades. I'm talking about the level that it's at now. It's just
the level you see is
now they are bringing it to the table.
Generations behind what the military has. It is antiquated and outdated technology where you'd never know it existed. They'll never tell us the current state of their tech. So, remember when they cloned Dolly the sheep?
Yeah.
Right?
I actually have a Time magazine somewhere laying around from
you never
the 90s.
Heard another word about cloning after that, right? Remember how the talk about cloning stopped? Because you know what the difference is between cloning a sheep and cloning a person? The size of the tank you use. That's the only difference. We've been cloning people since the 30s, man. And they don't want that discussion to be had. They don't want it restricted. They don't want the discussion to be had. So they simply tabled it. We clone people regularly in the military, the Black Ops, of course. They have access to tech that it's beyond our imagining, because part of the treaty that we signed with these aliens was that they would give us technological advances. And they've done that. They haven't given us anything that we could use against them. They're not giving us the good stuff, but they have given us a lot of stuff. Since 1950, every time that we've had a remarkable sudden advance in technology, it's been right after a UFO crash most of the time. Oh, UFO crash. Oh, suddenly we learned how to refine tungsten. We never knew how to do that before. Suddenly we built computer circuits, and all of a sudden, now we can shrink them up. Every week they got smaller and smaller and smaller. They started out the size of a room. Now you can put one in a little chip in your fingertip. That's alien technology. That's just nanotechnology was discovered at a crash in Brazil in 1998. There was never such a thing as nanotech. They didn't even think of it before. Molecular-sized machines, and they use it all the time now. It's in the vaccines. It's one of the things that's in the vaccines is self-assembling machines. That's why they have to keep the vaccines so cold, because when they heat up to body temperature, those things start assembling themselves, and they don't want that to happen before they get the shot inside of you.
Do you think that's what do you think they were kind of telling this with the X-Files, like you're talking about earlier? Do you think that black goo is kind of what the same thing?
The black goo is an AI that was created long ago and far away, and they created this black goo to get rid of unwanted biological life forms, right? But they didn't they didn't think ahead far enough, because that means it also wants to get rid of them. And it did. Black goo is the biggest threat we have, because it will eventually get rid of us. They say that it's completely wiped out whole galaxies. I don't know if that's true, but it's very dangerous. And it's an AI. The cobblestone that all the Muslims have to kiss once in their life, make the what they call it, the trip to Mecca to kiss the stone.
Uh-huh.
That is a meteorite, solidified black goo. And look how hateful they are. It makes you hateful. It's very dangerous. It's dangerous in so many ways, and it's here. I mean, it travels somehow. I don't know how. But if you have two containers of black goo and you put them on the same table together, they'll start moving and they'll try to join together, try to get into the other container with the other one. It's very nefarious.
Maybe that's the reason why. Well, first off, before I tell you about the black goo, what I think is going, and you might be right with what you think is going on also, but what I think is, I mentioned it before, like I said, this non-human force, whatever this force is, has been here for a very long time. And I feel like it's almost like it's archonic in nature. They know how to like infiltrate us, almost like puppet masters.
They know us much better than we know ourselves.
And so I think a lot of the global elites, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, and or just the bigwigs on the global theater, global stage, are being guided consciously or subconsciously by this force. And a lot of people think
by the Draco reptilians, because we're in their empire.
So
and they were the first alien race that discovered this world and claimed it as their own. And so they still think to this day that Earth and everything on it, including us, is their property.
So to kind of go with what I was saying, and with the black goo, I think we've been led up to this point, and I mentioned it before. Been led up to this point. I think one of the ultimate agendas was to eventually get to the point where we are now, with AI, all the technologies we have, trying to merge with machines. Elon Musk, all his, Neuralink, everything. They want that Blade Runner type dystopian futuristic world, turn us into human 2.0, where we're robotic in nature, but anyways, that's where I think maybe, if back to the black goo, maybe the black goo, if it is a life force of its own, who knows what it is, whatever type of life force it is, non-human force.
It's according to the people in the secret space program. But
maybe that black goo needs, or maybe that's some type of weapon to infiltrate the emerging technologies that we are facing or will soon to face in the years or decades to come. And then it's almost like a virus to take over the entire global grid when we merge with the machines, when we become that Blade Runner type dystopian world. I
mean, they've already got that. We just don't hear about it. You've heard of the super soldiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they are. They're part cyborg. They've got steel plates underneath their skin and their stomachs so that they're bulletproof, et cetera. And other enhancements like this. They're already doing this. They've got regeneration tanks that can grow limbs. If you get your arm chopped off in battle, they can grow you another one. If you get killed, they can put you in and they can bring you back to life over a period of a couple of weeks or so, right? And they don't want us to know that they have this tech, because they can also create, and this happened to me when I was abducted once, they have the ability to take your consciousness out of your body, your whole consciousness, because it's really it's like everything else in the universe. It's a electronic signature, right? It's energy. Your your brain waves, your whole consciousness. They can take it out of your head, you can take it out of your body and store it, or they can put it into a clone body. They did it to me. They stored it in a container. I don't know what they did with my body in the meantime, but they can make a clone of you that's the same age as you are when you give them the cells, and then they just put it in stasis and they wait for you to die. When you get old and you turn 90 and die, they can take your consciousness out, put it into a 30-year-old clone, and you start your life at 30 years old again under a different name, right?
I think that's what Ted Rice, Ted Rice.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was talking about also, was something with the containers. I had him on the podcast last
That's
year.
what they do. And what it is it's a recipe for eternal life. You don't ever have to die that way because you can keep doing it. You can get clone after clone after clone after clone, and they have eternal life in theory. And they don't want to share that with us. They don't want us to know that they have it. But it's one of the things that these advanced techs allow you to do.
I
And
think
if you want to take over a planet easily without firing a shot, you hybridize your race with the native intelligent race on the planet, right? You create a hybrid, which is what they say they're doing now with the DNA from abductees. And pretty soon, all you got to do is wait. And pretty soon you've got creatures that are partly you and partly the natives and adapted to that planet because they're half native. And you've spread your own DNA to another planet without ever firing a shot. It's just a thought.
so.
DNA is the coin of the universe, I'm sure.
So these entities are working alongside military and black ops and certain leaders of the world to push this hybridization, or what?
Well, we can't stop them. We can't stop them.
Well, I asked that because what would be the ultimate goal or agenda for the hybrid program? Is it to make us more suitable to travel into space or something, or what?
It's to, well, I mean, we're it's not humanity 2.0. I mean, if you look at our past history, all of a sudden there was no humans. All of a sudden there was Neanderthal everywhere, right? Building caves, building in campfires, primitive tools. They were there, wholly formed all of a sudden without any evolution to become Neanderthals. And suddenly they're gone. Cro-Magnon took over. They were there, no announcement, no evolution to Cro-Magnon. Then suddenly they were gone and we were there. It's like they're every time they get a new version, the last one's wiped out. And we are seen as a food source to many of them, and it's not fun,
I think the food source to these non-humans, I do think whatever this force is, they feed on us. And I think that, the Matrix had it right, like maybe not exactly like a battery, but if you want to think about it, our consciousness, our soul, we emit energy. We are that battery.
Right.
And I've had people on the show that don't think that, because I brought it up many times, they don't think that this force, these entities, whatever, will be able to ever steal or be able to learn how to, or even certain elites in the world will be able to replicate or
Well, that's what they think, but they're wrong.
or to steal our souls, whatever. You know what I mean?
Myself, I don't care about opinions. I don't care about speculation from anyone. I don't care about my own opinions. It doesn't lead you to the truth, right? Opinions do not lead you to the truth. All I care about is facts. And if I can't validate facts, I don't talk about it. So I'm not guessing at any of this stuff because I spent my whole life learning and making sure it's true.
Well, to kind of go on what I was saying, if we keep going down this road with technologies and we merging with machines and brain implants and microchips, and we're already immersed in this smart grid invisible soup of frequencies, but we, like I said, this is just the beginning stages of that Blade Runner type world future.
So you know that everybody who's been vaccinated for COVID has a computer signal that they give out, and you can pick it up on Bluetooth.
Yeah.
They have their own URL, and they can be activated by satellite.
Well, I don't want to lose my train of thought. So what I was saying is, like, if we keep going down this dangerous path, I think we're in the beginning to middle stages, maybe. I don't know when we have that type of, Arthur C. Clarke type of dystopian nightmare, where we're living in that type of novel. But these entities, this force, whatever, if we become emerged and we are like this human 2.0, or, we are basically cyborgs, whatever. I do think that we'll be more hackable. If who's to say this force can't just inject a type of, if we're immersed into these technologies decades or millennia or 100 years down the road, or maybe not even that long, who's to say they can't inject a virus into the system that we're plugged into, and they can make a replica of our consciousness or soul?
They can already do it. And if you have this COVID shot, they can hack you anytime they want to, because you've got nanotechnology inside you that you don't even know about. And they can replicate your soul because it is a energy signature, and they do it. We don't even think in those terms because it's so far beyond our tech, right? But you're exactly right. We're hackable, we're controllable, we can be all these cell phone towers that they're putting up. They're not really cell phone towers. Many of them are EMF emitting towers, and they're energy warfare weapons. They can direct EMF signals to individuals, and they can change your thoughts. If they don't like you, they can make you suicidal. They've got every brainwave pattern for every emotion that humans can feel. They've got it mapped out, and they can change the way you think if they want to. It's a very scary world out there, and we don't have any control over those things. They'll never admit they have it, but they do. It's very scary. That's why you saw everybody believe in the official story about 9/11. They were brainwashed into believing it. It doesn't even make sense, but they were brainwashed into believing it, and they will believe it all their lives. You can't change their mind about it. You can't say, well, there's no airplane wreckage at any of those sites. They don't care. Facts don't matter, right? I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how dumb and blind people can be if they're brainwashed. And the whole media is just a big brainwashing machine. TV, the tube flicks on and off, the same pattern as a hypnotic brainwave function. It hypnotizes you just by watching TV within a couple of minutes. That's why they count you in and out of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're counting you up and down out of hypnosis. Yep. I haven't watched TV for over 20 years. It's the best thing I ever did. Best advice I can ever give anyone is shut your TV off and never turn it on again.
To play devil's advocate, if we had those technologies, mind control technology, what we do, since we had those technologies, mind control technologies, drugs and everything else, we have these rogue factions that are playing these tricks on us. How do we know that what our representation of the phenomena? Like, how do we know that the grays are reptilians and all that? I'm not saying that there isn't a non-human force. I believe there is. I don't know what it is, but how do we know what we're seeing is actually the real thing? You know what I mean? Like grays, reptilians, and all that. How do we know that's just not a trick by the Illuminati, elites, deep state, whatever you want to call them? How do we know that's just not a trick?
But we've had enough legitimate, solid whistleblowers come out by now that we do know they're there. We know that we know that they're here, and we know many different races of them by now. And we know the details of it. So it's definitely true, and people there's been so many reports that you couldn't make up that many people couldn't be faking it. You know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't make sense. But the military wants you to think that they are aliens when they abduct you, because it completely absolves them of any responsibility. You know, but certainly we've recovered many crash disks. We've captured aliens. We have alien ambassadors here. We work them at Dulce Base. We work them off world. There's a base on the moon. There's bases on Mars, and alien bases. We're on Mars with their permission only. You know, they've been there a long time. We've been there since the 70s, but only with their permission. So it's the more I learn, the more scary it gets, honestly.
Do you think Dulce's still active today?
Yeah, but I've heard that we don't control it anymore. I've heard the aliens control it. I don't have any way to verify that, but yeah, I've heard that the lower levels are restricted only to aliens, and they run the show now. So I mean, I don't really have any special details on Dulce, except that everything we've heard about is basically true. You know.
And when you mentioned Dulce, it makes me think of Phil Schneider.
Right.
And so, you know, he died. Somehow he strangled himself from behind with a piano cord.
He strangled himself and he shot himself after he was dead.
Not a piano cord. It was his forgot what it was. But anyways,
I think he strangled himself with a piano wire, then shot himself twice in the head. That's quite a trick.
And then when I talked to you on the phone the other day, so with that, we have Jeffrey Epstein, you know, how he supposedly killed himself, and then what's the one that just killed herself? Maxwell Jolene.
She killed herself? I didn't hear that.
Or was it Maxwell? Brain fart.
Bill Schneider was going around with actual pieces of alien metal or alien technology of some kind, showing them out to people at his speeches. They just X'd him.
And then, you know, all these dead microbiologists, you know, from especially, they still happen, but especially from the early 2000s, dead microbiologists.
Yeah.
And who do you think is that us behind? Like, who's taking out? Like,
if you want to know the truth, follow the trail of dead bodies, and it'll lead you there. Those dead bodies are remember Kathleen Turner, Dr. Kathleen Turner?
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was the world's top expert on alien abductees, and suddenly she caught a fast-acting cancer that killed her in like 2 months.
You talking about Carla Turner?
Carla Turner, excuse me, Carla Turner. Yeah. I mean, it happens to far too many people to be a coincidence. You know, it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous research you can do. You're behind the 8 ball all the time, you know. And if you get too close or you get too much attention, they say they don't care what you say as long as nobody listens to you. But if you start getting a lot of people listening to you, then they care, and they'll take you out. You won't become an international celebrity and be rich and famous by telling the truth. If you're telling the truth, they'll never let you get that far. That's how come I'm still alive, is because you can fit all the people that care about what I say in a couple school buses. Right?
Yeah.
But people like Stephen Greer, who's a household name, he's not telling the truth. He says all aliens are our friends. Come on, man. You don't have to study aliens for 20 minutes to know that's not true.
Well, there's two sides to the story here, because first off, the government and all that, they want us to think there's a threat. And I believe there's a threat, whatever this type non-human force is. I think there is a threat, but they want to use that threat to get more money and, you know, more funds for the military, and to beef that up, and weapons and all this, to weaponize space and this and that.
Yeah, that's right.
But at the same time,
threat just by the fact that they exist.
But at the same time,
through space and time, they're a threat to us because they can do shit we can never do.
But at the same time, I don't think there are space brothers, love and light, and I want I want to conjure these crafts by doing the CE5 movements, like, you know what I mean? So we got two different
And
sides of the
there are
coin here.
friendlies, but CE5 is just stupid in my opinion.
Well,
You
I
know,
think it's dangerous though.
whatever they're here to do, whatever they come across space and time to do, it's not to talk to our dumb asses. Sorry.
No,
They
you're
didn't
good.
come,
You can say
they
whatever
didn't
you
come
want
here
to
to
say.
talk to you. If they came here to talk to you, they will find you and they'll let you know. But don't interrupt what they're doing by trying to conjure and summon them because it works. You can do it.
You might as well get a Ouija board,
Well, the
because
thing you don't want to do is interfere with aliens because they might not like it.
you don't know what you're conjuring though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's like walking up to a Hell's Angel and putting your hand on his bike and saying, "Sweet ride." Don't touch their bikes, right? You don't know what's going to happen. That's like that Travis Walton guy. He did the dumbest thing a person can do when he saw that alien spacecraft. He tried to walk up and put his hand on it. That's the dumbest thing. He's lucky he lived to tell the tale. Everything he said happened inside that craft is a lie. And he's lucky that they let him live just to walk up and try to touch that craft. That's what you don't want to do. You know? What was he thinking of? What do you think they were going to do?
I don't know. That's why you gotta be careful about opening that window. You know what I mean? Because that's why I think there's some type of non-human force that knows how to infiltrate our dreams, infiltrate our thoughts. They know
Yeah.
how to. It's like this force knows how to put this type of virus within our our subconscious minds, our conscious minds, whatever.
They can abduct your astral body if they want to.
And so I've mentioned this before. Klaus Schwab, whatever, the World Economic Forum guy.
Right.
Well, he's not over that anymore. I think he stepped down. But so I made a meme a couple years ago. The Joker face. I put a Joker face over his face,
He's a scary dude.
and I said, "Obey." It had his face, World Economic Forum, and then I had a Joker face over him, and I put "Obey," like from I think They Live, whatever. But
Yeah.
Obey, World Economic Forum with his clown face, on there. And I made that. I started feeling this terror, this fear. Like I started feeling dread. So I messaged Peter, one of my friends in the UK, and I was like, man, do I need to even upload this to? I was having doubts uploading it to Twitter, X, whatever. I was terrified to upload this. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like is there a darkness? Does Schwab
They'll know.
Well,
they can follow that energy right back to you, man. That's how
well,
it works. And they can follow it right through the internet right to you too if they want to.
well, that's what I mentioned on another podcast. Does Schwab and other players in the world, top tier players in the world, it's almost like they had this psychic, I don't know, like demiurgic type archonic force of army, whatever, of entities.
Well, they're satanic.
And
the Illuminati is all Satanists.
And they know that Michael James over there is about to upload. What do you got to go attack him right now? Boom. And that's why I started feeling fear and all that dread.
They can do exactly that. You're right. And the people who run the Illuminati, the top of the Illuminati, they say, are the Rothschild family. The head of the Rothschild family supposedly contacts the Draco in person, and they give him instructions, and he passes them along. And that's been going on for a long time. Black magic works. They have unlimited funds. They have black magic, and they have generational political connections that never go sour, and they can control the whole world by doing that. They own everything already. You want some of the best land? You can't get it. They already own that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna sell you Malibu. They own everything they want. So, and they write the laws to make sure that we can't rise to their status, right?
And
we can't make that kind of money.
And these Satanists, these occultists, whatever, they like. I think this force is working alongside with them, maybe psychically, subconscious. I don't know, but anyways, they use the inversion of words, spelling. They use the inversion of everything. Everything's inverted. Everything has to be inverted in their Luciferian type of
Look at the Google Chrome logo. It's 3 sixes.
yeah.
The Council of Foreign Relations, 3 sixes is their logo.
Well, everything.
CBS is the all-seeing eye. America Online, the all-seeing eye.
Well,
Time Warner was the all-seeing eye.
well, back to Barack Obama's, when he was running,
Right.
yes, we can. Yes, we can. You reverse that. You invert that. It's thank you, Satan. Thank you, Satan.
Yep, it sure is.
And it's
If
true.
you don't believe it, you can record yourself and try it yourself.
I've done it. Yes.
You'll hear yourself say it.
Yes. Why invert reality? Like, I'm asking you, your opinion. Why make everything inverted?
That's the way that they can get those power. Energy is raised and controlled by words and images, and that's a way that they can do that without you knowing it's happening, right? You'll never know that people. How many people know that Barack Obama thing? Almost nobody. You don't want to believe it if you tell them, and they won't believe it. How many people see that the Pope has an upside down cross behind him? He has a picture of the devil on his gown. How many people know that? How many people know that the Vatican's the Pope's audience chamber is shaped like the big mouth of a big serpent? And
well, you're talking about
cardinals wear bright red for a reason.
just
for a reason.
And also, with symbols, Macintosh with the bit and fruit, it's a tech, but anyways, I also found out that I think it was the first Apple one or whatever, the very first one that came out in the 70s, I think, or whenever it was, it cost $666.
Really? I believe that. If you take the Walmart logo and you put it on a mirror so it reflects itself, it's the tree of life. Isn't that interesting?
Has this reality already beat? Like, since we're talking about inversion, how do we know we're living in the real world? How do we know how do we know this is the base reality? What I mean is because
I don't think you know. They say that there's this guy named James Gates. He's an astrophysicist, and he measured the background radiation in the universe, right? And the supposedly left over from the Big Bang, and then he turned it into mathematical equations, right? And what he got was the same computer code that we use to write virtual reality programs. Exactly the same code. Like the whole computer is like the whole universe is a big virtual reality code. So,
well, everything is geometry. Everything's geometric in nature. Everything's ones and zeros. And I've mentioned this many a times. People think, I don't live in a freaking video game. I'm not saying it's like a video game. We don't know how to describe this reality. You know what I mean?
We don't know. We're not smart enough to know that stuff.
That's why I think
you get laid as much as you can and enjoy it while you can, because we could be a computer reality.
That's why I think there's this non-human.
Stop me from hitting on Stevie Nicks.
That's why I think there is this non-human force, whatever this force is, trying to push and steer humanity consciously or subconsciously towards the world with AI and transhumanism, the world we're facing now and the world we will face down the road with that Blade Runner type of dystopian reality. They're trying to push us towards that, to where they can, if this is some type of simulated reality, it makes it more, this reality it'll be checkmate, because they can inject these viruses into the mainframe, and then we'll be plugged in and it's just game over,
Right. Once you get virtual reality going, they can keep you in there the rest of your life and you'll be happy, because they can make virtual reality better than real life if they want to.
Do you think that, since we're rounding things up, do you think that is one of the ultimate, that's what I believe is the ultimate goal, the ultimate agenda, is to invert and hijack this reality and push us towards AI transhumanism. I think there's a non-human dark force influence behind the scenes that's been going on for a very long time, been steering humanity to where we are in this modern day Tower of Babel moment, to where we are going to merge with all of that, the machines, and we'll integrate with technologies and brain implants and all that to make us more hackable. I don't know how to explain
They
it.
want to control us. They want to control us because, like the Draco reptilians are, they are about control and domination. They don't have love in their society. That's a weakness, right? Compassion is a weakness. It can get you killed, but it can't save you. But they have domination and control, and that's what they want. And they are controlling us right now. It's just as you said. They're controlling us. Look, they keep this whole world locked into the fear paradigm. We're afraid. Who's the enemy now? You know, who's terrorists? What's going to happen? We're afraid of each other. We're fighting each other instead of concentrating on the real problems. We're worried about trans people. Come on, man. You know, how many trans people in the United States? 20. You know, and we're making a big deal out of it. Come on, man. We're worried about trans people. Really?
That's part of the inversion.
Iran's getting a nuclear bomb. Really?
Well, that's part of the inversion, also. You know, to invert the natural into the unnatural. You know,
divide and conquer.
And they keep us in a perpetual state of fear. We're more hackable and controllable. And then we go along, you know, it's just the Hegelian dialectic, you know, problem, reaction, solution. They put us in this constant state of fear. We're in this survival mode within this matrix. And we're in this constant Stockholm syndrome, to where we're obeying and listening and going along with, you know, with our leaders to help us.
And look how many people are doing it. It's working great. Look how many people are doing exactly what the TV tells them to do. It tells them who to love, who to hate, what to drive, what to wear, what to do, what to say, what to think, and they do it. It's hypnotic suggestion, and it gives them their orders. How many people do you know that believe in chemtrails? Almost nobody. All you gotta do is look up to see them, right? But they don't want to know. It's control, and it's mass brainwashing. That's why the army was practicing drills against a zombie army. Remember a few years ago?
Mm-hmm.
They are the zombie army. They don't think for themselves at all. Look at all the people how much they hate Elon Musk and Trump, right? There's no reason to hate them, but they've been brainwashed to do it for no reason, and they're obeying. Elon Musk's trying to save us trillions of dollars. They hate him because they've been told to.
Do you think Musk is also being guided by this force to push for this AI transhuman type world also, though?
No. Trump isn't either, because Trump's too rich to be controlled like that. You can't threaten somebody who has $9 billion, or in Elon's case, $150 billion. You can't threaten them. You can't tell them what to do. You know, he could hire ex-Marines to surround him with Uzis and still have $149 billion left at the end, you know?
Or do you think we just have a couple of different factions that play? We got this one faction fighting against this other faction, and that's, do you think there's just two different factions here, you know?
Well, I think the Illuminati control both parties. You know, they control both parties.
That's why ultimately I really don't trust anybody that get to that stage in power. You know?
Well, Trump got elected because he wasn't with either party. He financed his own campaign. He didn't need anybody's money, and he didn't need anybody's support because he went out to the public and got their support on his own, right? Hillary said, "Thank God you're not the president." He goes, "Yeah, because you'd be in jail." I mean, Trump didn't need them because he did it himself, and so he is the only president, I think, in my lifetime that has been free of that stuff. I think, and he knows a lot more than he talks about 9/11 and about aliens, because he's very well informed. And he's the only one who's tried to close the border and control the border in our lifetimes. Because the Illuminati won't allow that with the other people. They won't allow it. They want that border to be uncontrolled.
Only thing I'm not certain of is, the big beautiful bill, whatever. There's a lot of things in that.
Well, you're
That
not perfect.
the big beautiful. There's a lot of things in that, and I think one of them was, you got to put the cherry on top. Where waitresses, and I think if I'm saying it correctly, I think where waitresses or waiters, whatever, they can't get tax from their tips and things like that, and that's how they kind of sell it to us. But also, I think I haven't looked. I'm just going by what I've heard, so it could just be false information. But there's hidden bills within the big beautiful bill. Uh, you got a black helicopter coming to take you.
I don't know about that, but I'm sure that we're all going to be a lot better off
But
when he
I
gets in
was
as
talking about that.
president.
I was talking about that sound I heard. But
Oh,
anyways,
yeah, I got a highway right outside me.
but also hidden within that bill is to where that they're trying to pass, where states can't, in each individual state can't regulate AI for 10 years, I
I
believe.
don't know. I really don't know, but uh, we're already way better off since he's been president. I know that. Well, we're way better off because at least he's not senile. At
Well,
least he does have a plan.
well, I'm sure somebody's mentioned it, but I talked about it before. I don't know if open on my podcast, but just some of my friends and people at work about with Biden that he got prostate cancer. Is it prostate or the
I don't know. I hope it's fast and painful.
yeah? Well, I don't wish that upon anybody. Even somebody like him. I guess because I believe in karma. Because I feel like the universe can play tricks. But anyways, what I was saying is that maybe that's the reason why he declined fast is because he had this cancer and they knew it, so they were giving him treatments rather chemically or radiation, whatever. They're trying to give him to hold on just as much as he could. So if he did win the election, that's when they will come out and say, okay, he's got cancer, blah, blah, blah. He can't be president anymore. Now,
That's
Kamala,
treason. That's treason, and that's just what they're doing. He already wasn't in control. There was an auto pen to sign his bills and to sign his pardons. He already wasn't in control. He didn't even know what room he was in, man. He was trying to shake hands with people that weren't there. Remember that?
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
he declined.
I don't have
He
to
declined.
worry that the person who's going to decide war and peace is retarded. I want them to be as much smarter than me as possible. I don't want to have to worry that they're shaking hands with invisible people. Now we're going to send him off to make a treaty with Putin. No.
But I guess we'll round things up for this time, Derek.
Sorry.
But no,
Sorry.
it's all good, man. It was a good, fun conversation. Just like we just sitting on the couch shooting the shit. But ultimately though, I don't. I know Trump's done some good stuff, but man, ultimately, I just don't trust anybody when it comes to
I'm not partisan at all. I don't care what party they're
you
in.
know
I want a good person. I don't care about parties at all.
because everybody I've learned over the years, where you get to that certain level well, first off, there's several different factions that play here, and they're fighting for that ultimate power and control, and they're pushing their own narratives and agendas. But secondly, once you get to that certain stage of power, influence, and all that, you're I believe you're corrupted. What I mean, you have to lie, steal, cheat, backstab, manipulate to get to a certain level of influence. I can't even become a regional manager at Walmart. Let's just say Walmart. I can't even become, let's say, a big wig at Walmart, like I don't know, let's just say regional manager without lying, cheating, stealing, backstab, manipulating. That's just at freaking on a very surface level, very microcosm level.
All right.
Think of the macro, politics and things like that. You get to that level, you had to do some shady shit.
You ever watch a series called Bases?
On you, the guy over there,
Miles,
yeah, from the
watch
UK, yeah.
look up the James Casbolt interviews on Bases. Very, very interesting. He was a super soldier, and boy, he's very interesting. He
Okay.
talks about just what you were talking about.
Okay. Well, what's his name?
James Casbolt.
James Casbolt.
Yeah, with a C. Casbolt.
Okay. Will do.
Yeah, very interesting. He's got several interviews on there, and boy, he goes deep down the rabbit hole.
But Derek, man,
Thanks for inviting me, man. By the way, I really appreciate it.
this went a lot smoother than last time, didn't
Yeah,
it? But Derek,
yeah.
thank you very much for coming on Beyond the Forbidden. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure. My pleasure. Have a good day, man. I'll talk to you later.